Germany's election campaign is heating up with just weeks to go until the big vote. A new opinion poll has upset the race to replace Chancellor Angela Merkel. Her CDU party was expected to easily retain power, but are running into trouble. Their campaign mistakes have helped Olaf Scholz and his SPD party surge from behind to the top of the polls.
Germany's Social Democrats must be wishing voters could choose the Chancellor directly. Support for their candidate Olaf Scholz continues to grow. Of those polled by Infratest DIMAP, 43% say they would select Scholz for Chancellor if they could, far ahead of either the Conservative or Green candidates. Many people say, compared with CDU leader Armin Laschet or Green leader Annalena Baerbock, Scholz, who is finance minister in the current government, is more competent, more credible and more likable.
Today I think Olaf Scholz will make the run for the candidates.
For me, none of the three has any charisma and they're not assertive.
I think Scholz should win. I would like to see a woman in charge.
Scholz, definitely, because he has the most experience.
Voters can only pick a party, not a chancellor. But with just over 3 weeks until election day, Scholz's popularity is helping his Social Democrats pull ahead. The Conservative bloc has now fallen back to just 20% support, an all-time low for them. Scholz's SPD has surged. A quarter of voters are saying they plan to vote for it. The Greens, meanwhile, are now clearly back in third place. I'm thinking about SPD or Left Party.
I think the best option is green, red.
Germany is conservative. It doesn't matter who is the candidate, it will always be the CDU.
I think SPD and Greens will probably be well ahead. As things stand now, Olaf Scholz, sometimes in the past seen as lacking the emotional connection with voters, is on course for the nation's top political job. The question will be, will his appeal carry his party to a win on polling day?
Well, our political correspondent Nina Haase joins us from our parliamentary studios at a fascinating moment in the German elections, Nina. Olaf Scholz has taken a giant leap forward in the polls. Now, polls are not votes, but are we starting to believe yet that this strong polling is something more real, more tangible in terms of who Germans want as their next chancellor?
Well, this is a fascinating moment indeed, isn't it? I mean, who would have thought that a couple of months ago? And who says that German politics is boring? Well, this poll that we're talking about is conducted every 4 weeks, and Olaf Scholz and his party did jump 7 percentage points compared to last month, and the Conservatives lost 7 points in the same period, and that is a lot. And it confirms this trend that we've been seeing, and it is important when this poll was conducted, because, of course, it was conducted during this hot phase of the campaign, and the candidates have been touring the country. German voters are really getting to know them. And Scholz has turned out to be by far the most popular candidate. Yes, he's benefited from the weaknesses of the other candidates, but he's also been winning people over, it seems, with his message, I've been around, I am your finance minister, you've seen that I can be your crisis manager, and also, and that is vital in this election system, he's got his party firmly behind him, and that's not something that the others can necessarily say of themselves.
Another big story within these polls, Conservative candidate Armin Laschet was installed by his party as the front-runner to succeed Chancellor Merkel. The people seem to have reservations, though. Why?
Well, it was a close race at the time between him and Bavarian state leader Markus Söder to become the Conservative Chancellor candidate. And to this day, many people, even within the Conservative Party, are still not convinced that Armin Laschet is the right candidate. Many openly say that Söder from Bavaria would have done a better job, and this poll tells this story again. The poll we're talking about sees Markus Söder well ahead of Armin Laschet in terms of politicians' popularity, but a lot I think, also has to do with the fact that many Germans are now realizing that Laschet is not Angela Merkel, that the CDU is becoming a lot more conservative again in the traditional sense. And so it's not the same CDU as under Angela Merkel. And I mean, Laschet has been choosing traditionally neoliberal politicians to be his sidekick. So he's been losing some of those who in the past would have voted for the CDU because of Merkel.
Another darling of the early polls was the Greens' lead candidate, Annalena Baerbock. When her party seems to carry such a powerful popular message, how do we interpret her fall in the polls?
They do have a very strong message. They're focusing all their efforts on the fight against the climate crisis. And of course, many Germans have felt the effects of the climate crisis during those devastating floods in the summer. But the Greens did make some mistakes during the campaign, including their candidate. And Baerbock, of course, lacks the governing experience that Germans seem to want. German voters are looking for an experienced crisis manager in this time of uncertainty. The end of an era with Angela Merkel no longer running, COVID and floods affecting people's lives, and that gives Scholz and Laschet an advantage. But Baerbock seems to be out of the race to become Chancellor, but elections here in Germany are not just about candidates, it's ultimately about the race to form a coalition government. And here the Greens look like they're certainly going to be a part of the next government as a junior partner.
Such an interesting moment. Nina Haase, thanks so much.